Hello, my reading friends. I'm so happy you came. If you like reading books with me, then subscribe to be part of my reading family. Today, we are going to read Grandma's Bag of 20 Inspiring Stories written by Sudha Murty, illustrated by Priya Kuriyan. So, if you have the copy, go get it. Then you can also read along with me.
Chapter 17 The Island of Statues. One day early in the morning, the children heard a loud voice booming outside. Where are your grandchildren? I have come to take them to my place. They went running out to see a very tall man with twinkling eyes and a grey beard sipping coffee with the grandparents. He wore a crisp white dhoti and shirt and a black cap. His smile was so charming that the children instantly warmed to him. Aji was shaking her head and saying, Ramat, there's no way Parambi can manage 4 children. Take them out for the day. Why do you want to have them over for the night? But the man called Ramat shook his head. No, I will take them for a night's stay. My Usman is a great cook and will look after everything. Perambi will not be troubled at all. Aji saw the questioning look on the children's faces and explained, This is Rahmat. A long time back, when your Aja was a school teacher, he was your Aja's student. He lives a little far away now. He has a mango grove there and a large house. All his children live abroad. In his house, there's a large library of books and what can be called a mini zoo with goats, cows, peacocks, pigeons, and parrots. He wants to have you all over for the night. I'm sure you will have a good time. But do you want to go? He also tells very beautiful stories, added Aja. Brahmat grinned and said, Masterji, don't exaggerate. I started reading children's storybooks only after my grandchildren were born. Then I remembered the stories you used to tell us in school and passed off some of them as my own. He turned to the children and said, So what do you think, kids? Will you come with me? I will show you a different part of the village. Everyone was thinking when Raghu spoke up, Can we bring our friends with us? Oh, you mean Vishnu Kaka's grandchildren? Of course they can come. The more the merrier. Pirambi will love having so many children in the house. Raghu ran to Sharan's house to give the news. Brahmat Chacha, as everyone called him, had bought a jeep and soon all 7 had packed a change and their toothbrushes and piled into it. Brahmat Chacha's house was far, about 30 kilometers away, and on the way they had to go through a forest. The road cutting through the forest was narrow and winding. Tall trees stood on both sides. It was a dark, scary place. Suma looked around nervously and said, Will anyone ever cut down these trees and widen the road? Ramachacha shook his head. Oh no, the villagers will never allow it. We love our trees and try to see as few are cut down as possible. Trees must never be cut unnecessarily. Do you want to listen to a story about a kingdom that cut down all its trees? Of course, the children did. So Rahmat Chacha began his story. Once there was a beautiful verdant green island. It had forests filled with huge trees, waterfalls gushing with clear blue water, and mountains where there was a quarry of a unique kind of stone. This stone was valued for its attractive white color. It was also easy to turn into sculptures. The island had been ruled for years by a king who was now old. He looked after his people well and loved the natural beauty of his land above all. His close friend was a sculptor called Amar. Amar too loved the land more than anything else. He had a school where students from far and wide came to learn the art of creating sculptures out of stone. But Amar had one odd condition for the students who studied in his school. He insisted they bring their own supply of stone. Only for their final sculpture were they allowed to use a piece of stone from the island's quarry. Many grumbled at this rule. After all, dragging tons of stone to an island in the middle of a sea was difficult. But Amar was adamant. Once his king asked him the reason for this condition, and this is what wise old Amar had to say. This stone, and indeed everything on this remarkable land of ours, is a gift which we need to preserve. Unless we use it wisely, how will we be able to save this quarry for our children? If we start using the stones and woods from trees without a thought, they will soon finish, and then we will be left with an empty, barren land. This is why I insist that students learning the craft of sculpting bring their own material. And only when they make their final piece of art can they use this unique stone from our land. The king applauded this thought in his mind and let Amar run his school the way he wanted. But then a day came when the king, now very old, died and his son took over the throne. Rajdeep, the new king, wanted to do everything differently from his father. He started changing many laws. One day he remembered the art school and went to visit it. There he saw the students working on the sculptures. But his ministers whispered to him the complaints that other students, who had not wanted to bring their own material, had made about Amar's rule. Rajdev realized that if he lifted the rule, then many more people would come to study in the school. Their fees would add to the prosperity of the island, and in addition, they would create lovely works of art that could be used to beautify the towns. He ordered Amar to step down as the teacher and brought someone else to run the school. Soon the island was full of students chipping away on the stone. The demands increased the mining at the quarry. They created large sculptures which now needed to get transported back to the town. Trees were cut down to make carts and to clear roads. Without trees to provide wood for the boats, the fishermen of the island would not go out to sea. They started fishing near the land and got into fights frequently with one another. New houses were not strong as both wood and stone were scarce. It was difficult for farmers to make good ploughs, and so farming suffered. All the mining created so much of pollution that plants started dying out. Diseases spread, and the tinkling waterfalls fell silent as water became scarce. The climate changed. It became hotter and drier. Soon there were famines, and the once beautiful green island was reduced to a wasteland of weeds and scrub. Rajdev wishes of leaning his capital city and palace with chain sculptures was fulfilled. Each student in the art school made a beautiful huge statue and gifted it to him. Soon the statues filled up the entire kingdom. Where once there were deep forests and blue rivers and streams, the island was a barren land now. The forests were gone. The rivers had turned into dirty trickles of water. The climate had become hot and dusty as the rains no longer came on time. People started leaving the island. The houses, the schools, and palaces slowly fell silent as they were abandoned. With time, everyone forgot about this land. Many years later, when explorers landed here, they found hundreds of statues strewn all over a barren island, a land destroyed by the king's greed. How everyone enjoyed the story. The rest of the journey was spent in each one acting out a part from the story, with Rama Chacha taking on the role of the wise old king. Cheerful and at the same time very hungry, they soon reached their new friend's house. It was a huge rambling space. Parambi was waiting for them at a doorstep. She told Usman to make a sharbat of mango and shurukumla, a kind of kheer for lunch. There was also paracha, biryani and all kinds of mouth-watering dishes, which Usman was more than happy to prepare. After lunch, they roamed around the house, examined the books in the library, and the many awards Rahmat Chacha had received for his innovative skills in agriculture.
I hope you enjoyed the story today. Don't forget to subscribe to get notified when the next chapter of this book is on my channel.